This is a video of the repairs I made to a Kubota D1403 3-cylinder diesel engine in a multi-Quip 10 kilowatt generator. Since the video is over an hour long, I thought I should start with a trailer of the video. The injector camshaft stop plate was missing, so the camshaft floated back and forth, preventing it from governing the engine's speed, allowing the engine speed to go to full throttle and overspeed. The camshaft end play caused the cam lobe to destroy the fuel pump, and the oil pump gear was on backwards and the bolt was loosed, which could have resulted in catastrophic engine failure. Also, the spacer on the fan pulley was on the wrong side, so there was belt misalignment to the alternator. Okay, here I've got a Whisperwatt 10 generator with a Kubota D1403 diesel motor on it. The governor on the diesel motor doesn't regulate, so what I have to do is disassemble the generator and fix the governor. So I've taken all of the bolts out of the top and taken the cover off the left side. I've got to drain the antifreeze out. Okay, so we've got a bit of a catch drain there set up, and we're draining the antifreeze. It's quite a mess. We've taken the cover off of the left side. Now we can take the lid off. Getting at the governor is a bit of a challenge because it's on the front of the motor. So we have to remove the water pump and the governor and the injector pump to get at it. We'll put the drain plug back in the radiator drain so we don't lose it. Undo the flange off the exhaust manifold. Well, that's a miracle. My experience with exhaust manifold bolts is that they don't like to come apart. drain hose from the radiator needs to come off. Maybe time to bottle up the antifreeze. It's kind of in our way. It's really important that no dogs drink it, because it will kill them. The challenge is, what do you pick it with? Maybe a forklift. It does not clear the fan. And that's how we do that. It's time for beer. Now I have to take this cover off. Fan is off. Pulley and belter off. The fan was protruding out, so I'm thinking we need to have it without this spacer. Now I get this cover off. We're going to have to take off the flywheel. So let's take off some of the other bolts. Okay, so it cost me $150, but I got a 46 millimeter deep or regular socket, and then had the welding shop in town add a piece to it to make it a deep socket. So with the impact, I undid that nut. It was really, really tight. I had to go forward, reverse, and I had to use some penetrating oil, but it finally got it off. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I got that nut off. Once I got the nut off, then 46 millimeter. Then use the pulley puller. And that pulled it off. Now I've got all the nuts, bolts out, I believe, all the way around. You can see down in there at the Governor. So now we need a hammer and pry that off. Oh, don't need a hammer. Okay. There we go. Our dandy little oil pump, which isn't catching by too many teeth. Isn't that interesting? You see how that oil pump is sticking out? That is potential for failure. Anyway, here we are with our governor. Well, that's interesting. That might affect the amount that the governor has to move. There doesn't seem to be a bearing or anything on the end. What holds that in place? Well, there's nothing in here. Fascinating. So what holds that from moving forward? That seems to go back and forth. And that would push on the forks. But if that has an end play on the shaft, that might cancel out the movement of the flyweights. Well, what to say? I guess we need to start taking more stuff off. It is a 10. D1403 600009. Well. Hi. How's the dog? Go on. You're gonna get all greasy. Getting harder to feel the end of my fingers. One more. We need a 12 flat. And what is behind door number 3? Oh, come on, Mr. Gasket. don't tear. There you go. Well, isn't that wonderful? So, there we have the end of the shaft. Again, still no snap ring. So what centers that thing? What keeps it in the... What keeps it from moving back and forth? Because if it moved back and forth, then your governor is going to be back and forth. So the big spring is pulling on this one, and then there's a small spring that pulls on this one. So that pulls it up. That pulls it up for idle. And this one's the high speed. And then when the flyweights come out, they push it back to slow it down. See, that can come out. You'd almost think that there'd be a plate here pushing on that. I guess the next thing to do is to take out the injector pump. Okay, so we'll move the timing marks, move the crankshaft so the timing marks align. Okay, so we need to take the injector pump off. The injector lines, so quite possibly this support. Looks like they've been wrenched on. The intake manifold's gonna have to come off. Good dog. I can't patch you because my hands are all greasy. And so the other end just came off anyway. little bit of pressure on that, pushing it up to be expected. One of them has to be firing. So that was in that slot there. You have to remember that. And the same number of shims need to go back in this. And there we have the injector cam. Why is that all busted up? You see right down in there the fuel pump? Fuel pump's cracked. Don't know what did that. That's an ugly one to get off. Oh well. Off it is. No siree. Flat wrench only. 10 millimeter. But we still haven't figured out what's the deal with the movement on this bearing. Off comes the fuel pump. Wow, that's quite fascinating. Looks like the cam's come around and mashed it. Like there's two bolt holes here, and I can see them having a plate on top of that thing to hold that snap ring in. Okay, so I aligned the timing marks up, and I took the snap ring off, and there's a washer, an inside and an outside washer. So once you get that gear off, then you can undo the two bolts that hold the bracket on for the levers for the yokes, and then you can pull the shaft out, and then the yokes come away, and then you can pull out the cam, injector cam. There. And there you have it. When we took the fuel pump out, we noticed that the cam mashed up the fuel pump housing. So it's a good thing we did all this. Turn the oil pump gear the opposite way, because the oil pump's got a shoulder and somebody's got it on the inside. And if it was the other way around, then it wouldn't be hanging out there so much. Quite fascinating. Okay, so I discovered that the camshaft for the injector pump is moving back and forth a half an inch. So the governor wasn't able to control the speed. And the reason that the shaft was moving back and forth was that the plate was missing that holds the bearing in place so that it's locked from moving either way. So I manufactured this plate. And it rides on that bearing and holds that shaft in. It's a bit of a challenge to get this in. You start the camshaft. And after you get it about 3/4 of the way in, then you need to take the arm for the governor and slip it up onto the shaft. And there are dowel pins on either side at the bottom and the side that you can put the shaft on. There, once that's in place, and a couple of bolts. Oh yes, this bolt has to go in before the left bolt. Needs to be in place in the hole before you start. Now once you've got that in place, you can push that the rest of the way in. So now you can see how the flyweights, when the flyweights operate, they move the arm. And then we can put our plate in. All right, now the plate.
right. All right. And that's how that goes together. The next challenge is to get the timing correct. And that is quite a challenge. So, we have to have the crankshaft almost at top dead center. And then I have to find the timing marks on the pulley. So this is number 1, and it will go down there to number 1. So usually 2 off will do it. I'm going to get it back and forth. So that number 2 lines up. And then we have to get number 3 on. And there's number 3. And it's going to be down there. And that's how we do that. Next we put the washer on. We're ready to start with our reassembly process. Now you can see how the fuel pump goes in there. Now this one got damaged because the camshaft was going back and forth. And you can see how it lines up there with the camshaft. It's just damaged, so we're not going to use this fuel pump. We ordered a new one. We're ready to put the injector pump back in. We have got the levers all in place. And just to double check our timing marks. So number 1 on the bottom is lining up there all right. Number 2 up to the camshaft is lining up all right. And number 3. You can see number 3 in there. Lines up properly with this. The lever is functioning and the cam for the injector pump is not loose anymore. It's not moving back and forth. We fixed that. We're ready to put the injector pump in. Now, this slider for the injector pump, it's very important that be matched up into this fork so that it'll shut off. The other thing that we want to make sure of is that the shutdown will work. So there's the shutdown stop switch. Now when it's bolted in place, that has to work there. Okay. Now the injector pump has shims. These aren't just gaskets, they are shims. And what they do is the height of this sets the timing for the injector pump. So if you're going to modify the timing, you add or remove shims. And you want to make sure you're putting back whatever shims were in there before. Now we need to go up in here and make sure that that is in the fork. There we go. So there's the fork there for the shutdown. Genzo, can't see what the first 2 digits are, and then it's 4 5 0 0 7 7 4 0 0 2 H 1 8 8 8 0. Another thing we want to put on is just this cover over the end of the camshaft for the injector pump. The depth of this plunger sets how far back the stop goes. So if that isn't set far enough back, it'll never stop. It needs to be that way to stop. I have the snap ring on. Timing marks are lined up. The previous installer had this gear on backwards, and the nut or the bolt into the oil pump was loose. So I've reversed that gear. Everything should be in position right now to have the cover installed and put the flywheel back on and prep it for the new gasket. I've cleaned the holes out, pre-drilled them. We have O-rings. There's 3 small O-rings and 1 large one. I need to put the manifold back on, and then the injector lines. Intake manifold. Injector lines to put back on. So we'll put them on, but we won't tighten up the line on the injector because we're going to have to bleed the injector out because the fuel system is dry. Whoever worked on these nuts before didn't use a very good wrench. They're kind of rounded. Now we've scraped the gasket all off that was there, and we've cleaned everything up pretty good. Don't want any rises to cause a high spot underneath the cover. Okay. We are just about ready for the cover. New gasket. Put a little bit of gasket maker RTV on the cover and put the gasket on. I've got the O-rings in place. There's 1 large one and 2 small ones and a medium one. And what we're going to do is silicone the threads. In case there's any leakage. There are dowel pins. So once we get the cover in place, now to figure out where would the longest bolt go. Not there. Maybe there. The reason I'm putting RTV on the threads is because of coolant leaking up the threads, and also it acts as a Loctite. now we should be ready for the dampener pulley. Probably want to put a little bit of lubricant on there. There's a stop and a idle spring holes there and there to that pin. This stop is maximum throttle opening. I'm thinking now we're ready for some springs. So we need the big spring and the little spring and some needle nose pliers. Now, big spring. We don't know till we try. Okay, so I've taken a wire, made a loop in it, I've run it back up the spring, one coil. The trick will be if I can get it in there and get it on that arm. Okay, so that got it on that end. Okay, so we have that. Now, can we undo our pull wire? Pull wire is off. throttle's in place. Okay. Wasn't impossible, but it was darn challenging. Come up with a cover for the fuel pump, because we haven't got any replacement fuel pump right now. We need to put the stop on. 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't look long enough. So I'm guessing this is for the fill tube. And those look plenty long. Okay, pulley, spacer, fan, fan, alrighty. Fan and pulley. I like using anti-seize. It makes my job easier the next time. So we got the hoses on. The drain line is on. Other hose on the other side on the inlet. We're ready for some antifreeze. It's always a good idea to filter it. Hi, dog. How are you? How's the dog? Go get a stick. Go get a stick. What's this? Here's a stick. There. We gotta cap that. We got a cap where the fuel pump goes in. And we need to put a valve in here. So we can have an emergency shut off if we need it. In our Governor commissioning. So we have antifreeze. We have fuel. We have oil. The fuel pump is, old fuel pump hole is covered. I put a bypass line in with a valve here to shut the fuel off in case runaway. The throttle is down to slow. I believe the stop is working. Okay, we've got the injectors primed. Nuts are done up. And we've just been running the glow plugs, heating them up.